It's now time for What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the city of Asheville, with the host, Mr. Sam Parada, and here he is.
Hello, Asheville. Welcome to What's Up Asheville here on WRES 100.7 FM. Today we have a very special guest, someone who you might recognize from previous episodes, our very own Ricardo Tapia-Basurto. How are you?
Excellent, Sam. So happy to be here in Asheville and in the show. You know, it's so cool, so vibrant, and so great to see the whole team. I know.
Yeah. So Ricardo left us last year in May. He moved to Massachusetts, and we managed to snag him back for like just a week.
Yeah, I mean, being remote doesn't mean that you can do your job and you can continue engaging and supporting. So I'm really excited to be part of here with the team and with everyone in the city. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. So Ricardo used to hold the position that I have right now, and then I think you stopped working with us for a couple of weeks until you came back in your new position.
Yeah.
Stronger than ever. So why don't you tell
hope so.
us what your new position is and what do you do for the department?
Yeah, well, I'm part of the CAPE, the Communication and Public Engagement Department of the city of Asheville, which means like we deal with a lot of like the communications and reaching out to the community, make sure like they hear and they know about the city. And I am fortunate enough to be in a position of like being the language accessibility specialist, which means like we are putting a lot of like work into developing strategies and materials to reach out to people with English limited proficiency here in Nashville, and that's part of like what I'm trying to do and work transversally across like all departments. So
yeah, and language accessibility is something new that the city is tackling. Like your position was made entirely for yourself to be able to give information to those who either English is their second language, or they don't speak English at all, or have some limitations that most other people don't struggle with, such as vision impairment or hearing disabilities. So let's get to the root of this. What is language accessibility and why is it so important?
Right. I think that's a really important question that we have to be aware, because many times we take things for granted. And basically what it is like easing the access to the government resources regardless of like any condition, technology access, language ability in this case, or like if you have like a disability, that shouldn't be an impediment for you to have access to the information, resources, and services that your governments are providing for you.
Of course.
No one should be constrained or affected by it, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach out to the community with a limited English proficiency, or who is deaf or blind or have some disability. That shouldn't be an issue at all for the attention that they get. If they want to call the phone, come in person, go to a meeting, they should be able to participate just like as everyone else, and that's kind of what we're trying to do. Make sure like that's possible.
I know a big hurdle in this conversation is, but these people don't speak English, so why should they participate? And the whole point is that we work for the public.
Yeah.
And, even if you do not speak the language, you're here, you pay your taxes, you go to work, you're a member of the community, so you should have as much access as everyone else.
Yeah.
Because, we serve you.
Absolutely. And sometimes we kind of forget, or we don't realize like how diverse and rich is our community. According to the last census in the city, 8% of the population is foreign born. 7% are Latinos. So we have not only in the city, but in the Buncombe County and all the towns surrounding Asheville, there's a significant like Spanish-speaking population, Russian-speaking population, Ukrainian-speaking population, and we have a significant also population that has like some sort of like disability and requires like reading Braille or like American Sign Language. So those are needs that must be covered. We cannot pretend that the people, they don't exist, and we certainly cannot put like all the responsibility on them to say like, well, you figure it out and you'll see how to do it. No,
Exactly.
we should to be proactive to make sure like they feel welcome and they can accommodate to us.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that, with the more voices that we hear from, we always have the same people go to city council meetings, we have the same people answer surveys, reach out to us, and my goal, personal goal, and I know this is the same goal of our department, is to be able to hear from everyone.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you, even if it's your first time. Your voice has as much weight as everybody else's. And I think that the more people speak, the more variety we'll know, and maybe things will be done differently. But we do need public input.
Absolutely. I think like there's nothing wrong with having people participating and being always the same. That's amazing that they're so involved in their community. I really applaud that. But we should encourage more people to realize like they can participate, they can sign a petition, they can ask for something. Because if they have an idea how their community could be better, their neighborhood could improve in somehow, they should do it. Building a community, getting to know each other, strengthening together, that's the root that make this country and this city so cool in the first place. So we should be able to promote that and get to do that. Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm a big advocate on education.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's another piece of this. Once we start reaching out to non-English speaking communities that Asheville has, we will be able to teach how local government works, how they can be more involved. And my goal is that, maybe to our listeners, you have a friend who doesn't speak that much English, and this friend comes to you and says, hey, did you know that you can do this with the city? And hopefully they'll, educate and teach what the city does, how we do it, how you can participate, and that we're not robots just, doing our daily activities. So this affects everyone, I think. A big piece of it. And so, come out, learn about it. If you speak another language, come talk to us, get in touch with the Cape Department Communications. Someone will come to you and maybe you can participate. We have many different ways to go out there and work with the public, and we really need your help.
Absolutely. I think like I know that on one occasion Christina was in this very show, like talking about like all the job that we do with like engaging with the neighborhood association and the neighborhood communities. That's a great example of that. I think like also we have to take into consideration that when we talk about language accessibility, one aspect of it is like think of new ways to communicate, new ways to engage, and it's not only translating materials, it's also making the materials more accessible, more clear, more precise, more informative towards what people needs and want. And it's just a great example of like the curb cut side effect, So if we are making improvements to accommodate better like those with limited English proficiency, overall we will be moving forward towards making better communication for the community in general. More
quality and more services that reach out to more people, yes.
Absolutely. So that's part of what we're striving to. That's the whole goal of this.
What's the name of the curb
project?
The what did you say that the more
curve cut side effect?
Yeah, that. For those of you who don't know, it is the idea that yes, for example, we can have those doors with the buttons to open the door automatically for people who use wheelchairs, for example, and cannot pull the door by themselves with ease. How many people who can use their legs perfectly fine and open doors perfectly fine have used that button?
I mean, if you're carrying your supermarket bags or everything, it's more convenient.
Hey, even if my hands are free and I'm tired, the door just looks very heavy today. I just want to press that button. It opens for me.
Yeah.
And I just made my life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of something that was made to make someone else's life livable.
Absolutely.
And so
the textbook example is when we see on the sidewalks when we have to redo it to make sure like someone who is in like wheelchair can walk, go through it and easily can get in and out of the sidewalk
Exactly.
or go to the crossing. That's thing for people in wheelchair, but ended up being beneficial for everyone because you have a better sidewalk, more walkable. So it results in everyone's benefit, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. So I want to step back a little bit and ask you, how did all this get started? And, why is it that it's happening now?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, actually, because language accessibility, it was possible to put effort into this, thanks in part to the federal funding provided to the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan spending that was signed due to the COVID emergency.
Yes.
The whole purpose of these funds was providing a unique opportunity for local governments to make strategic investments in long-lived assets, rebuild reserves, and enhance a better community building. So we decided to develop a project called Inclusive and Accessible Government, and the whole idea of this project is to bolster a two-way communication between city government and the community. And these, as part of this project, the ARPA funds, we have the Outfitter community spaces when we want to make sure places where communities and meetings are happening in neighborhoods, there will be in better conditions. We want to develop the Community Engagement Academy, the hybrid meetings, so we can have meetings more easily remotely with city representatives and the communities where they are meeting. So instead of asking everyone, hey, come to City Hall and we'll see you there, it's no, meet you in your neighborhood, in the park, in the recreation center,
wherever the community feels safer and it's easier for
meet
them.
there,
Yes.
and we'll make sure the city can reach out if you want to and you need to.
Yeah.
And among these three strategies, the fourth one is the language accessibility plan. So we're trying to build up a communication language accessibility plan for the whole city, and it implies creating materials, training, education, rebuilding trust, building strategic partnerships. So we're trying to do as much as we can to reach out to this sector of the community that we kind of have somehow left behind a bit, and we want to correct that.
Yes. And you are basically in charge of the language section and the whole department. Those lists that Ricardo just went over are pieces that CAPE is working overall.
Yeah.
And you might have heard about it. You might have maybe seen something happening. It is a work in progress. And, I found out this a little less than a year ago, but the way that I worked just didn't work for the local government, because I'm like, okay, let's find that solution. Let's fix it right now.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa, hold up.
Yeah.
We need to slow down. We need to take the steps, make the plans, make sure we're reaching out to everyone that needs to be reached out.
Budget in it.
Everything. So, it made me realize that yes, local government can feel slow at times, but the reason is, we need that quality. We need to make sure, especially now that we know so many people have been left out of the conversation for whatever reason, and systemic racism or implementations in different laws or whatever. And it's our job as the new current generation of government employees to take a look at them and start fixing them. So this all ARPA thing is part of that, and that's why we're so grateful to have people like Ricardo, who has taken on, the responsibility, a big responsibility to try and fix this language accessibility issue that we have not had the time or resources until now to start, tackling.
Yeah, and I mean it's a complex work, because it implies we have had almost 20 internal meetings with each department to understand how they work, what do they do, how do they do it,
their necessities,
what are the challenges they're facing. It was many departments were we see regularly people coming and when they don't speak English, they have to bring their kids, and
Yep.
you see like 8 years old like
Like the
assisting their
water
parents.
department,
You
I
see
feel.
our public services, water, public services, or like development, community.
Yes.
Yeah, the community
And economic development.
I mean, our department who are more public facing, they have to engage a lot with the public, and they say quite often, it's like, I'm seeing this 8-year-old doing translation for their parents, or like I'm using Google Translate to assist me and see how can I better understand and communicate somehow. And if you have to experience those challenges over time, it's like, well, at least they try to help me, but at the same time, it's like it can feel discouraging.
Yeah,
to
it's like,
continue
what is
participating.
being done?
Yeah.
Like, why do I need to go through all these extra steps just to pay my water bill?
Yeah. I mean, what for us could be like, oh, I know that I have to do it on the website. For someone who doesn't speak English and doesn't understand so much about technology, it can be really challenging. So they have to call over the phone. They can't. They have to come in person and hope and look for assistance. So it's not the same, like register for getting your water service. It's not going to be the same if you have these limitations. And
Exactly.
that's kind of what we have to try to redo. And that's what we are striving to.
Yeah, and my parents, when we moved to the United States, it took a while for us to like really understand, different culture, different regulations, laws, rules, whatever you want to call them. And it took us some time to, get used to it. And then I moved out after graduating, and I'm living in my own place, and not once did I say, oh, this is what the government in my city is doing. It's like, I don't care. They just do it for us. It wasn't until moving to Asheville that I was like, oh, look, Parks and Recreation isn't local government. But that's like everything that I knew about local government. And so...
Did you watch the show?
The show, yeah. So it's like, that's what I think it is. And it's not that far off. But at the same time, I learned a lot. Like, oh, this is how we do things. These are the steps that must be taken, whatever. And I realized, wow, it took me 28 years to learn what local government even is.
Yeah.
And even longer to, get into it and understand and be a part of it. So I feel like a lot of people don't have that luxury.
I mean, it's like you have to deal with the difference between what does the county do and what does the city does, what are the specific services that I need. And I understand that many people says like, I just want the government to make sure like they're doing their job and I don't want to engage, and that's perfectly fine.
That's perfectly fine.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we are parts of this, and we're trying to help to make sure like the quality of life is improving, that the people are getting their needs tended, that they feel like they're part of the community. So we're trying to do way more than only providing services, and that's building up and reaching out. That's so important, and it requires some effort.
Yeah, that's why we need your help. That's why we need everyone to jump in and tell us and just talk.
I mean, some of as you say, talking is probably the most essential, more important thing. That's why we're working towards some steps. Like right now, we are building and strengthening our capacity to have like over the phone interpretation. So if you speak Spanish, you speak Chinese, if you speak Russian, and you call to the city, you probably, the person who picks up the phone might not speak the language you speak, but can access and should be able to access an interpreter to assist you with it. If you want to go to the website, well, the website now has the capability in all parts to be automatically translated to the language that you might select. So there's like steps that we're taking. When we are doing communications or we're publicating information, we are trying to translate many materials as possible so people can have it in different languages. When we're having an event, a city council or a council or a committee meeting, we should have interpreters there so people can understand, can understand and can participate.
And sign language as well. That's one of the things we're looking into.
Absolutely too, yeah.
So what are the big challenges you're facing? And I know, I at least in my opinion, one of them is just money.
Always, yeah. I mean, part of the issue is always no, it's not only money by itself, but it's like we need money to do some stuff. If we want to build up like capacities, well, we need like an interpretation service. We have to pay for the interpretation services. If we want to build up capacity, then we must hire bilingual staff, or we have to train our staff so they are bilingual or they can assist at the very least. If we want to create specific materials, well, we have to dedicate more time to translating and designing and printing and distributing. So there are many steps that we have to take in order to do so. But at the same time, it's not only that we have to take these internal steps, and we will, and we are doing so, but also it's like we have to better reach out to the communities that
It's happening.
bear the languages. There
Yeah.
are also like not that much. I mean, thinking about like strategic partnerships, I'm see here that we have like many announcements of the AV Tech Community College. They had really good training and classes languages for people. So it's like, you know, I would personally love having like a class in a Russian class or a Spanish class for city employees, so they can learn a bit of it and they can better assist the community. And at the same time, we can work with the community because the community college has some like English classes for people who have limited English proficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to reach out to people who doesn't speak English.
Yep.
And then let them know, like, doesn't matter that you don't speak it. You can reach out to the government and you can get your services and everything that you need, and we will be happy to assist you. Mm-hmm. That's what we try to do, and that's what we will be working to doing.
Well, not that long ago, I was just walking, going into City Hall, and I see this woman with her family talking about the water bill because they were housing a lot of Ukrainian refugees. Mm-hmm. And that made me start thinking like, wow, we are possibly getting refugees coming into whatever homes are able to take them. But, if we don't have that access for them, mm-hmm. We don't want to isolate anyone, because isolation leads to misunderstanding and leads to a more fractured community. So what I really hope that comes out of this is, no matter how different your needs are, mm-hmm. and no matter how far behind you think you are in terms of participating, we need to close that gap, because everyone should have a chance to speak, mm-hmm. and it'll just be better for the entire community.
Absolutely.
The needs of the few can really benefit the many.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like so many times we are so caught in this made up belief of the American self-made man, like you should be able to put on your bootstraps all by yourself with no one's help. And it's like, yeah, that only happened in the movies, in real life, we need from everyone. We should be helping each other, because it's nothing wrong that you're doing your best and you're working towards your goals. That's commendable and that's perfect. But not everyone is doing it in the same conditions, and for many people it's going to be really complicated to reach out to better conditions of life and to become parts of like feel welcome in the community. Mm-hmm. So that's what we should be striving for. It's like, we're going to do as much as we can to make sure like everyone feels like welcome, accommodated, and have the chance to succeed in their own life.
Perfect, beautifully said. And it's true. It's true. I help you, and down the line, I might reap the benefits too, even if I don't see it right away. And that's the mentality that I've seen so many people at the city have right now.
Yeah.
If we make the city safer, if we make education more equitable for everyone, mm-hmm. then we're gonna have safer streets, and our future, children, the future of Asheville is going to be better equipped to, better take care of us when we're older.
I mean, I measure the success of a country or a civilization not by the riches of the few, but the quality of like the most. Mm-hmm. In this case, I'm like, that's what should we striving for. Make sure like everyone have like decent conditions that everyone feels like welcome in their communities and everyone is striving to. I think that's kind of what it moves us, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yes. So, what are some future steps that we're planning currently? And I say we, as in I'm, on and off part of this language accessibility.
You're part of this
team.
project, my man. Absolutely.
So, what are the next steps that we can expect?
Well, we are going to develop a language accessibility communication plan for the city, and a heavily component of this one, it will be reach out to the community. We want to have meetings, we have health, we want to hear their opinions, their needs, their thoughts, their suggestions, and to let them know that they're part of it.
And I just want to stop you real quick because this is part of something that we've also been talking about, which is communication, input fatigue. People hear that all the time. We want to hear from you, but then they don't hear back from us after we heard from them.
Yeah.
There's no back and forth communication, and that's another project that our department is working on.
Yeah.
It's more internal. It's so that when you hear from Christina Israel or whoever at community meetings, and you tell them your issues for the 20th time, she'll have a way to access that information and, keep it, save it. And the next time someone comes talk to you from the city, even if it's your first time meeting them, you're not going to have to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
We're going to have a better time accessing the needs and information that neighborhoods require. So going back to you, when you're talking about hearing from the community, we're talking specifically about the non-English speaking community.
Yes.
Yes.
We're absolutely, we want to hear from everyone, but in this particular case, we're also trying to focus on the people who does not speak English.
Because it's our first effort
Yeah.
at reaching them out. Yes.
Absolutely. We are encouraging them to use the app, and we're evaluating to have the app available in different languages, so they can use it to make a report or ask for a service. We're starting to translate many documents, so we have them available. So you have to register yourself or ask for something, you can do it in your language. We're building up capacity to have interpretation services in meetings or over the phone. So if people call or if people walk through one of the city facilities, they know there will be someone to assist them.
Yeah.
So they should be relying on their 80 years old kid or in their cell phone or in the please understand what I'm trying to tell you with
my
signs
hands.
And with like the few things I learned in doing and the few phrases I catch watching movies. So
yeah, exactly.
it happens. So at this point, we're working on that. We're trying to work with as many departments as possible because, as I say, different departments have different needs.
Yeah.
But overall, for the average citizen, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They are the.
Yeah, I know. You have an issue with water, you're going to call capital projects. You're going to call
I just want to talk with the city. The city, please solve it.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole point. We want to educate and I say education, and that people don't like being told that they don't know something, and I say that word. I know the connotations, but education in the sense of, hey, this is something that you don't know, and if you knew about it, we'd all have such a better time. But we're running out of time. Thank you so much for spending time with me again, Ricardo. It's a pleasure.
Happy to be here. Happy to be back to this cabin with this team. It was really, really fun.
Great.
Being for this side now.
Before we go, I do want to have one final minute to talk about what I just mentioned. This project to better engage with the community is more internal facing. We're working on it, and the reason it's taking so long is because we want to have that quality. We don't want to go out to you in community meetings and say, hey, tell us one more time the things that bother you, because we get it. You are so sick and tired of telling us, and we hear you. But it is an issue that we have internally, So maybe someone from planning comes to you and you tell them what you need, and they forget to tell us, or they tell us, but it doesn't they don't tell it to the right person. We're trying to find a way so that you can talk to anyone in the city and the right person will come to you immediately. Or at least, maybe not immediately, but
really soon.
Better, if there's going to be a better back and forth communications. So stay tuned. Be patient with us. We're trying our best. And that's all the time we have for today on What's Up Asheville. We'll see you next time. Be good to each other, Asheville.
Take care.
You've been listening to What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville in collaboration with WRS 100.7 FM. This program will re-air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30. Thank you for listening.